Welcome to the Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there, and welcome to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox. And the miraculous news is I don't have the flu anymore. Yay! I was just telling my producer, Chris, that I thought the key to that was drinking plenty of coconut water, recommended to me by a very good friend of mine. So there you have it. I do not have a croaky voice this week. And if you had missed the past 2 weeks' shows, be sure to go back onto the OMTimes website archive, and there you can hear that I have a frog in my throat. But tonight, I do not. So that's the good news. And just in time, might I add, for the new moon in Pisces. So that's the big news of the week. The other headline of the astrological week is warrior planet Mars moving into Capricorn. So I'm going to be talking about those two influences on tonight's show and what it means for you and your sign. I'm also going to talk about Mars and all the aspects it's going to make while it's in Capricorn. And it might sound a little bit doomy, gloomy when it actually hooks up with Saturn and Pluto. But I have to say, Mars in Capricorn, Mars really likes being in Capricorn, so that's good news. And this is sort of like the reprieve before we head into May, when Mars will be moving into Aquarius and forming a square to Uranus, and then it turns retrograde late June, and then it just wreaks havoc all northern hemisphere summertime long. So everything I say tonight about Mars in Capricorn, it's all really good. But first, I'm going to just give you a little brief about the Pisces New Moon on Saturday, and that's if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And, of course, if you're a day ahead, then this will be all on Sunday for you. So with the new moon, I'm going to take a step back and explain, what is a new moon and how often does it happen? Well, we have a new moon every month. And I have to say that last month, the new moon was a solar eclipse. If you remember the show, the week of February 12th, if you tuned in then. If not, be sure to go back to the archive and have a listen, because last month our new moon was a solar eclipse in Aquarius. And the new moons, or the solar eclipses that are occurring at the moment, towards the end of the signs that they're in. So what that means is that it means we're just starting to wrap things up. Now, especially because this new moon is in Pisces, Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac before we celebrate the astrological new moon, which occurs on or around, depending on where you are in the world, on March 20th. Now, that coincides with in the Northern Hemisphere, it'll be the start of spring, and then in the Southern Hemisphere, it will be the start of autumn. So we're coming to closure. So a lot of people, I've noticed there's a lot of people I've been giving readings for. They're looking for closure. They're looking to take the next step forward. And I feel like just about every show I've talked about 2018 being a time or a year of transformation and change. So this is a great time. This is probably the best time of the whole year to start wrapping things up or ending things, especially things that are not working for you in your life. So this is, we're coming up rapidly to Saturday's new moon in Pisces. So just remember, it's all about, we're coming to the end of the cycle. It's time to wrap things up, especially if you're a mutable sign, and that's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces. This is the time when, not so much Pisces, but particularly Gemini, Virgo, and Sag, wrapping things up or ending things might be a little bit more difficult, and that's because the Pisces new moon is forming a little bit of a challenging aspect to your sun. Now, the other thing about this Pisces new moon is that there's a square, it's forming a square to Mars, a trine to the retrograde Jupiter, and a sextile to Pluto, which I will talk about in more depth a little bit later on. So usually with these lunations, and that's new moons, full moons, and then the quarter moons I don't really cover in shows, but there's always some sort of aspect, and lately a lot of aspects to each of these lunations that I talk about each week. So this week's Pisces new moon is all about a time of wrapping things up, winding things down. It's about contemplation, and it's also about really listening to your intuition, because the sign of Pisces is the psychic of the zodiac. If you are fortunate enough to have a Pisces in your life, you will know what I'm talking about. Pisces are very psychic, very intuitive. They sometimes operate on a different realm, and I'm not trying to be rude or sort of couch what I'm trying to say, but they operate on an ethereal plane typically. And so if you apply all the keywords to, or the Pisces keywords to this new moon on Saturday, then it's a good time to sort of tune in to something higher, have faith, have belief that things really will work out. Be compassionate, be caring. That's what Pisces people are all about. It's a good time to settle conflicts or to move ahead with taking a step in a new direction. So a new moon is typically a time for wrapping things up before we can move into that new direction. You know, we want to take a chance. We want to move ahead. But what we need to do before that is closure or completion. That's really the key word here. Before we can have those great new opportunities around the new moon, it's all about completing or finishing something first, you know, tidying up the loose ends, so to speak. Now, the other thing about this Pisces new moon is it's all about boundaries. And it's interesting because a lot of the readings I've been doing lately, say the past week, it's all about boundaries. You know, people, we all need to remember consciously our boundaries, because what happens is if we don't put up our boundaries and we don't protect ourselves with, you know, the white light, the cliched white light, and even in the shower each morning, you know, having the water be the protection over us. That's a great Pisces metaphor, because Pisces is a water sign. Then lots of things come in, you know, and as I said, I've just had the flu for 2 weeks, and I hadn't been, you know, practicing what I was preaching to everybody, and that is having boundaries, making sure you have your boundaries up, making sure that you protect yourself with the white light, ask for help, ask for guidance from a higher source. This is a great use of this Pisces new moon, but really keep in mind your personal boundaries. And I'm just talking energetically, but it could even mean in your own physical space, you know, walking down the street, or, you know, getting pushed and shoved, or whatever it is. That's just a really minor example, but it's important to have boundaries. and to protect yourself, because the energy of Pisces is very much like a sponge. So if you think about this new moon, it's like we're absorbing a lot. We're absorbing so much we don't even know we're doing it. And if you're an empath, be very careful, because as an empath, if you're not protecting yourself, you're going to walk in and you're going to absorb the feelings of everybody else around you. So it's really crucial that you keep that in mind around this Pisces new moon. And if you don't incorporate these practices into your daily life, now is a great time to do it with the Pisces new moon. So this is all about just being aware of not taking on other people's feelings and emotions and moods, because what happens is, and particularly people that are in this realm or do this type of work, you tend to be doing readings, numerous readings day after day. If you're not protecting yourself, you're taking on the issues of the people that you're reading for. And that goes for everybody. It's not just the readers in this space, but it's like, it's really important to really set those personal boundaries. Even with family members, like they seem to be crossing boundaries all the time. That's what I hear anyway. So also with this Pisces new moon at the end of the week, it's about getting in touch with your feelings. Pisces being a water sign, water signs and the other water signs, Cancer and Scorpio. It's very much about emotions and feelings, and it's really not a time to be sweeping your feelings under the rug. It's a time for dealing with your stuff. Feel your feelings. Be compassionate. The energy of Pisces is compassion and care, and, making this world a harmonious place to live in. And it's all about, we are all equal. We've just come out of the last month's new moon solar eclipse was in Aquarius, and Aquarius is this sign of the humanitarian. And so it's all about, we are all equal. Well, Pisces is very similar, but Pisces is more about one love, like we are all human, and it's a great leveler, because that's a great place to start. No matter race, status, gender, education level, age, whatever it is, we are all one. And, as Bob Marley had sung, many years ago, one love. So it's like we are all one. We are all the human race. So that's what Pisces is all about. It's like taking care of others. Know that we are a link in a chain of our society, and then again on a global level. That's what this new moon in Pisces is about. Charity, care, compassion. It's a great time, with this new moon in Pisces, is to look at the relationships you have with others, check in with your feelings, and see where you're blocked emotionally. Get in touch with your innermost self. Break down the barriers. I said, have boundaries, but I meant with other people. Within yourself, break down the barriers. Really don't be afraid to face your feelings. They can really tell you a lot at this time, because as I said, Pisces, with this new moon in Pisces at the end of the week, it's like this is all about intuition, instinct, psychic ability, tuning into something higher, spirituality, creativity. So it's a time for like brainstorming and thinking through life at a higher level. We always have to pay attention to the detail, dot your I's, cross your T's, that sort of stuff. But in this instance, like this week, it's more about, give yourself a reprieve. Go out and do some fun stuff. Really connect with other people. Evolve your soul. One way of doing that is emphasizing the similarities you have with other people rather than the differences. Don't worry about the differences. Worry less about the differences. See how similar you are to other people. Give hugs. That's a great Pisces new moon thing to do. And, if you're not into that, try it. Just try it for a day and see what happens. And get out there and say hello to everybody you encounter. Again, see what happens with this Pisces new moon. Try something different. 2018 is a year to make changes. And it's a year for everybody to make changes. We're all going through stuff. There's always stuff happening on an individual level and also, on a global or societal level. So with Pisces, the new moon in Pisces is happening this Saturday. It's all about new beginnings, but before you can have a new beginning, you need to have an ending, wrapping things up, getting things completed. It might be a little bit tough with this energy because Pisces is an energy that sort of like goes with the flow. It's not really about hardcore focus or having lots of energy, although I will talk about the square to Mars it is making. But it's more about, going with the flow and just being chill. I think that's a great word. With Pisces being the mutable water sign, so this new moon in Pisces is all about going with the flow, using your intuition, being emotional. And emotional doesn't mean negative. It just means, let your emotions out. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to step aside from the logic and the practical that, we all have to do constantly. So it's a time to maybe let a trusted loved one take the lead and just sort of like go with the flow. The energy of Pisces and this Pisces new moon is very romantic as well. So it's a time for romance, or it's a time for reigniting the spark in your relationship. And maybe spark's not the right word because this is all about romance. It's not so much physical, it's emotional. So it's romantic, it's emotional, it's dreamy, it's, wearing those rose-colored glasses, intuiting your partner's needs and doing what you can to meet them because the energy of Pisces is very supportive. And as I said, care, compassion, understanding, charitable. It's like, intuiting the needs of others and helping people. And I think of, sometimes with this energy of stray puppies. Anyway, on that note, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On. My passion is sifting through information, research and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer Kelly Fox, talking about the new moon in Pisces. That's occurring on Saturday. And if you are over the other side of the date line, then that will be Sunday for you. So we've got a new moon in Pisces. And so Pisces is a very romantic sign, I was just saying before the break. very romantic, very intuitive, creative, compassionate, caring. So these are all really, really nice traits and characteristics that are coming up around this new moon and this week, especially if you are a water sign. That's good news for you. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. This is a great time for new beginnings. But before you have a new beginning, you need to have an ending. So just wrap things up and get things done before you can move off into your whole new direction on your unicorn, which is floating on a rainbow. So Pisces, this new moon in Pisces is ruled by the planet Neptune. And so Neptune is a planet of illusion and fantasy and imagination. And Pisces and Neptune, that energy, it can be the champion of lost causes because there's a lot of idealism. And so it's sort of like it's okay to be creative and plan for what you want in the future, but have a little touch of, a little dose of reality. And I will address that in just a minute because there are some aspects from this new moon to the other planets. So as I said before, this new moon in Pisces is forming a square to Mars. That's the only sort of negative aspect that's going on here with the new moon. So basically you've got the sun and the moon forming a square to Mars. And this is more of a little bit of a warning to anybody that's a mutable sign or has planets in mutable signs. And the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces. The moon and the sun will be in Pisces with the new moon, and Mars is currently in Sagittarius, but it will be moving into Capricorn on Saturday as well, which I will address. But before it jumps into Capricorn on Saturday, it's forming, it's part of this square from the new moon. So this energy, the new moon forming a square to Mars, is all about being impatient and maybe a bit irritated, wanting to get things done faster than what we can. Some of us might be a little bit touchy, hypersensitive, taking offense when none was intended. We might even become defensive, having emotional outbursts, that type of thing. Oh, and just by the way, if you don't know where your planets are, I strongly suggest you go to my website and get a free chart wheel which lists all the planets and the signs they were in at the time you were born. And the web address on that is new, N-E-W, and don't ask about that, new.theastrologer.com/chartwheel. So back to the new moon forming a square to Mars. A lot of us might be feeling impulsive or emotionally based actions are likely during this time. And it's sort of like we want to jump into something really quick without any sort of thought around it, which is obviously never a good idea. And I'm not mentioning any signs, but maybe Sag, be careful. Mars, warrior planet, aggressive Mars is currently in your sign. And of course, this new moon in Pisces is forming a square. So you could be triggered a bit. You're a fire sign, so your temper might be short. And I'm not just picking on Sag. I'm just saying, just generally you might have planets in Sagittarius, so tempers might be short. Arguments can easily come about under this transit. And remember what I said in the very beginning, this is all about having boundaries. So have boundaries, and more boundaries. So with the sun and moon forming a square to Mars, as I said, temper's very short at this time. It's like people getting out of the wrong side of the bed. It's sort of grumpy, and anything might be a provocation, and making mountains out of molehills. Nobody wants to be told what to do, even though Pisces is very sweet and is usually good with taking direction. This new moon in Pisces, because it's forming a square to warrior Mars, people are going to be like hotheads and more competitive than usual. There could be some ruffled feathers with this square to Mars. So as I said, people feeling a bit grouchy or prickly. It's sort of best to avoid arguments, I would say, and temper tantrums. So exercise more caution than usual. is probably the best advice I can give you with this new moon forming a square to Mars. Now, the new moon is also forming a trine, which is a good thing, to lucky planet Jupiter. Now, Jupiter just turned retrograde last week, so that's a bit of a mixed bag, that one. So what that means is the sun and moon coming together, like right next to each other in Pisces, from our perspective here on Earth, of course, and forming a trine, and a trine is fortuitous, according to astrologers, and Jupiter is a planet of luck and good fortune, hope, optimism, confidence, but on the flip side, it can be excess and extreme and exaggeration. So, because Jupiter's retrograde, typically when a planet's retrograde, we tend to use the not so positive keywords around a retrograde planet. So because, this retrograde Jupiter is involved with a trine, which is a good thing to the new moon, that's why I was saying it's a bit of a mixed bag. It could sort of go any way. So really, because the moon's involved, it's all about emotions. And because the new moon's in Pisces, it's like a double emotions. So emotions swell during this new moon because of the trine to Jupiter. It's like some people might be getting carried away by the feelings, being sentimental, nostalgic. And so it's like, particularly I'd say for the water signs, and again, that's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. This new moon brings a swell of emotions, but as I just said, because Jupiter is a planet of excess, it's like there might be, positive or negative emotions, but like really big, more than usual. It might be a time to, people are looking back to the past, but also it's a great time to look to the future. And the interesting thing is, because Jupiter is retrograde and it's in Scorpio, I know every week I feel like I'm harping on about Jupiter in Scorpio, which is unearthing the truth or revealing something that's been hidden. So when you put that together with this new moon, it's very much about, particularly if you're a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, it's very much about getting in touch with feelings that you'd forgotten were even there, and feelings from the past. So there might be some memories that come back to you. They don't have to be perfect memories. It's sort of like, this is a great time to visualize our dreams and our goals, and, get started on the path towards fulfillment. We're friendly at this time, Moon trine Jupiter, so it's about connecting with others, but be careful of self-indulgent, because anytime Jupiter's involved, and it's a retrograde, so I'm using a little bit of a negative keyword, self-indulgent, so be careful around that, because you'll be paying the price later. But, because it is a trine and it's Jupiter, it is a favorable time, it is a favorable new moon. Again, especially for the water signs, people that have planets in water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So there's going to be a lot of things going on, because Jupiter just creates that inflation. So it's a good time to really look at the broader vision, look at a situation from a higher point of view. Details not so great this week, not only because the new moon in Pisces is not great with detail, but also with the involvement of Jupiter. Jupiter's not really big into detail either. So this is a really good time for seeing the bigger picture, looking to the future, writing down or taking notes of any thoughts that come your way. I think in general with the new moon forming a trine to this Jupiter, people are feeling altruistic, and tolerance and generosity because of the involvement of Jupiter. So as I keep saying, this new moon in Pisces is very much about compassion and charity and helping others. So this is with this great trine from Jupiter, it's very much about that. So it's just watch for extravagance, really. That's sort of like take care with the extravagance. Now, the other aspect that the new moon in Pisces is forming is a sextile to Pluto. So a sextile is a good thing as well. So sextiles and trines are the two positive or soft aspects according to astrologers. So the only hard aspect is this square to Mars. So on one hand, you've got like the new moon forming a square to Mars, and then you've got the new moon forming a trine to Jupiter, and then now a sextile to Pluto. So with the moon and Pluto connecting in a positive way, our perceptions, I always think like anytime moon Pluto, it's like our emotional perceptions are sharpened during this period with this new moon. It's sort of like it supports an increase in intuition, and it's like we're seeing things that we haven't seen before. Now that again is supported by retrograde Jupiter in Scorpio. So it's like there's powerful emotions with the new moon forming a sextile to Pluto. Pluto, of course, is the most powerful planet of all. It's all about power. It's all about change, but it's personal power. It's not about, it's global power, but really I'm talking like on an individual level. So powerful emotions can surface now, especially because this new moon is in Pisces, and it's all about emotions. So, and again, Jupiter in Scorpio, things that have been hidden, emotions that have been hidden now can come to the surface, especially with this little boost from Pluto. So if you're looking to have like a heart-to-heart talk with someone close, this is a really great time to do it. And even if the feelings or the emotions are unpleasant, we can move through it, and we can evolve from where we've been sort of spinning previously. And that's because Pluto is the planet of change and evolution. So it's like when the moon, which is about emotions and feelings, comes together with Pluto in a positive way, like it's doing with this new moon in Pisces, it's very much evolving from where we were and moving beyond. So it's sort of like a therapeutic process if you're, if you find yourself in that and, talking deep and meaningful feelings with those that you're close to, this is a great time. But be prepared because you need to be fearless around this because there's lots of big things that we could face emotionally. Digging, I always say to people in my readings, it's the swamp. Think of this type of energy, except it's not as bad because it's a sextile, which is good. But sometimes, with moon square Pluto or moon opposite Pluto, it's like, think of it as a swamp, and the swamp is your emotion, and you're sort of afraid to even put your toe in there because you don't really know what you're dealing with. This is a more positive influence because it's a sextile. A sextile brings opportunity. So it's sort of like if there's been emotions that have been lurking around or hanging around, or now is a good time to sort of get it out, dig it up and get it out, process it, and move beyond. Because this is all about personal growth. So when you've got the sun and the moon in the new moon in Pisces forming a sextile to Pluto, which is opportunities to transform emotions typically. And a lot can be accomplished. It's an ambitious thing when I just pull the moon aside and just look at the sun of the new moon, because, a new moon is about the sun and the moon coming together. If I just look at the sun forming a sextile to Pluto, this is a very ambitious, very driving, very working hard. It's a very strong and focused energy of the sun's component to this positive angle to Pluto. So it's all about being strong-willed, not being easily swayed. Even though it is a Pisces new moon, Pluto is in Capricorn right now, so it's very much about not deviating off the path. It's sort of like have the goal, no matter how big or small it is, and just go for it, especially if it involves like emotional, digging up emotions that have been hidden previously. And so opportunities will present themselves for people's own personal power. It's sort of like, if you've been sort of waffling around and not really on the path that you want to be on, now is the time to just tap into your personal power and get back on the path. Get on your path. Face the direction you want to go in and take that step forward. It's a really, really great energy to use, not just because it's a new moon in Pisces. It's sort of like dream everything that you want to dream and nothing is too big. But it's like there's the energy there to actually make it happen, not just with the idealism of the trine to Jupiter, but the sextile to Pluto. And I did say there's a square from Mars, which sort of like, just remember, take baby steps, because if we set our goals too big and the timeline too short, we're doomed for failure. So that's probably the energy of Mars, the tension or the friction from wanting to take action because you've got these great new plans and a great new direction. And this is for all the signs, but it's like if you're going to take a big giant leap, you really are setting yourself up for not achieving that. So what's important is just to take baby steps. Remember, the boost is coming from Pluto in Capricorn, and the symbol of Capricorn is the mountain goat. And so the little mountain goat starts from the very bottom and works its way all the way up to the top. And so that's the boost that you need. It's like take baby steps, one step after another. So how will this Pisces new moon be affecting your sign? Well, I'm going to whiz through this really fast because there are so many aspects, from this new moon to Mars, Jupiter, and Pluto, that there's a lot of potent energy with this new moon, even though it's in very subtle Pisces. There's a lot of boost from these other planets. So if you're an Aries, this new moon, pay attention to your dreams this week and next week, because this is all about your subconscious mind. You might be getting signs subliminally from around, so pay attention to those. And Aries, you're typically always in a hurry, so now is not the time to be in a hurry. It's like pay attention to what's going on. If you're a Taurus, this is about friends and groups that you're part of, and friends might lend a helping hand. You might not need a helping hand, but you never know. And on that note, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned, and I will continue with the rest of the signs.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi there, this is the Astrology Show, and I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about the new moon in Pisces. And I was just whizzing it through before the break. I covered Aries, Taurus. If you're a Gemini, this new moon is all about career. If you're looking to make a change, this is the time to do it. If you're a Cancer, this is about overseas or any sort of legalities. any sort of course or class you want to take, now is the time to do it. If you're a Leo, this new moon will fall in your shared resources sector, taxes, inheritance, insurance. If you're a Virgo, this new moon is triggering your relationship sector. If you're in a relationship and it's not working, you might find it might be time to move on. If you're a Libra, focus on your health, diet, and fitness. Scorpio, this is great for you. This is, especially if you're single, this might be the time for a new romance. If you're a Sag, focus on your home and family. And a Capricorn, this is about intellect, thought, communication, siblings, and neighbors. If you're an Aquarius, spending and saving money for you. This new moon highlights your money sector. And finally, if you are a Pisces and you're looking to make a change in your appearance or with your appearance, now is the time to do it. All right, moving right along, I mentioned that warrior planet Mars is moving into Capricorn. So this is exciting because Mars really likes Capricorn. As I say each time, the planets have their favorite signs and their least favorite signs, and Capricorn is one of Mars's favorite signs. So this is a very ambitious energy. It's we're driven to succeed, and many of us, especially if you're an Earth sign, and that's Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, you've got the discipline and focus to achieve your ambitions at this time. Now, Mars will be in Capricorn until May 15th, when it then moves into Aquarius. So right now the time is to focus on success, career, ambition. Many of us will be find that we're willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top. We might be a little bit more calculating than usual. Some people might even accuse us of being ruthless. But be sure to consider other people's feelings in this quest. So during this time when Mars is in Capricorn, many of us want tangible, measurable results. We want concrete evidence of our efforts. And so, you know, it's a really good time for strategy and long-term thinking. Although sort of this might be a little bit too cautious when Mars is in Capricorn, maybe fearful. Be sure you don't miss out on any sort of opportunity because you're too cautious in taking a step or a little bit of a risk. So the time now is to think about long-term plans, especially because we also have Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and Mars on Saturday is going to be moving into Capricorn. So we have, many of us are going to have a lot of stamina and perseverance, and just be careful not to be overly serious or take ourselves too seriously. But it definitely is going to be a great time for our ambitions. When Mars is in Capricorn, where it will be starting this Saturday through May 15th. So just running through really fast, the aspects that Mars will make while it's in Capricorn. So on March 24th, the Sun will be forming a square to Mars. So Sun in Aries forming a square to Mars in Capricorn. So March 24th, the cardinal signs, just be aware, the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Just be aware around March 24th, tempers or outbursts because nobody seems to be getting their way. It's sort of like a battle of wanting to jump in versus needing to make long-term plans. So basically the key word here is to have patience. April 2nd, we've got Mars conjunct Saturn. Now, this is really interesting because Mars and Saturn will both be in Capricorn, and it's a good time to really think about long-term plans, but not really putting them into action, and this is where the irritation might come in because Mars wants to jump in and just get going with it, where Saturn really is something that's like puts the brakes on. No, and it could be authority doing that to us at this time as well. So be very careful around April 2nd, that authority is not like waving their finger around when all you want to do is take action. April 4th, Mercury will form a square to Mars. And Mercury will be Mercury will be retrograde in Aries. That is not good news, because Mercury retrograde in Aries forming a square to Mars. Oh, everybody pay attention to that date, April 4th. This is when really people are irritable, irrational, risky behavior, short-tempered, arguments for the sake of arguing, raising voices. Oh, it's not a good aspect at all. And usually Mars in Capricorn is very put together, but in this case, when it's doing battle with Mercury retrograde in Aries, it's not very good. Hopefully there's not any sort of presentation you need to give around that time, because it won't be met with the response you had hoped, perhaps. April 10th, we've got Venus trine Mars. That is wonderful. Venus in Taurus trine Mars in Capricorn. If you are an earth sign, this is great news for you. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Venus trine Mars. It's a really great passionate, romantic energy coming together. April 14th, Mars forms a sextile to Neptune in Pisces. This is a nice energy, not if you want to be assertive, but more about dreaming big dreams. Really, it's a great transit for strategy. April 23rd, we've got Mars in Capricorn forming a sextile to Jupiter in Scorpio. That's a great competitive winning or taking a risk and seeing something pay off. It's a very physical type of energy. April 26th, we've got Mars conjunct Pluto. This is a very, very potent, powerful, passionate energy. So it's very, very, very ambitious. May 12th, Mars in Aries squares Mars again, because it's come out of retrograde. Not as bad as when it was in retrograde, but again, it's all about sort of arguments. So other planetary influences this week. On Sunday, yesterday, we had Mars trine Uranus. So this is a very adventurous, daring, independent type of energy. It's like amazing creative breakthroughs coming along, being adventurous, sort of like innovation and taking steps around it. Good bursts of physical energy when Mars trines Uranus. Also yesterday we had the Sun sextile Pluto. Fantastic for directing our powerful energies towards worthy endeavours. A lot can be accomplished this week under this energy. It's like a no-nonsense ambition, and all of us are willing to work hard for what we want. We're strong, focused, determined, committed to what we're doing. So this week's very good. We've got a lot of really good, potent energy to really take our lives to the next level, or take the next step to where we want to be. March 13th, which is tomorrow, Venus in Aries forming a square to Saturn. That's sort of a bit of a doom and gloom when it comes to relationships. It's like we might be feeling a bit depressed or melancholy. Things are not going well so much in the relationship department. And this is all, again, for the cardinal signs, and that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and also for finances. Not so great for finances. But also, and on the other side of it, we've got the Sun trine Jupiter. So on one hand, you've got doom and gloom when it comes to relationships, and on the other side, you've got Sun trine Jupiter. So it's like, wow, feeling good, many opportunities coming our way, seeing life from a higher point of view, looking to the future, being tolerant, being generous. So it's sort of like that's what happens sometimes. It's like you've got, Venus square Saturn on one hand and Sun trine Jupiter on the other. So it's a mixed bag, and it all depends on where these energies sit in your chart. Now, so that's it for the secondary influences of the week. And now for your weekly horoscope. If you're an Aries, well, this is a great week to broaden your horizons, quite literally through travel if you can. And you don't even need to go that far. So visit a new city or check out a part of your own neighbourhood which you rarely visit. So new sights and sounds will energize and delight you. If you're a Taurus, bravery is high on your agenda this week, so push yourself to achieve something daring and fresh. Conquering fears and overcoming anxieties is much easier than normal this week. So bring your phobias out into the open and get them sorted right now. If you're a Gemini, team up with your partner, your mutual friends, and other like-minded souls to push the boundaries of what can be achieved in your neighborhood. Don't take no for an answer. Change can happen if the determination is there. If you are a Cancer, innovation and creativity make you stand out at work this week, and your flair certainly gets noticed. Remember, I said there's a lot of great energy going on for the water signs, and that is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So push ahead, Cancer, with your brightest and best ideas. Even if you don't get the support you would hope for, you can make this work. If you're a Leo, exciting opportunities surround you, but are you willing to take the risk? There's a battle going on this week between the part of you which wants to play it safe and the part of you which longs for freedom. Let freedom win and see where it takes you. If you are a Virgo, with goodwill and positivity, a family feud could be overcome this week. You're determined to get family members talking, so keep at it. They might not thank you now, but you know in your heart that you're doing the right thing. If you are a Libra, inspired conversations between you and your sweetheart could lead to a whole new lifestyle. Some serious changes are afoot, but you're excited and can't wait to get started. Energized, enthusiastic, and upbeat, and you're on top of the world. If you are a Scorpio, take a different approach to money management. So instead of moaning about how little of it you have, celebrate your blessings this week and acknowledge how fortunate you truly are. Practicing gratitude will invite more abundance into your life. Try it. It does work. If you're a Sag, the urge to make a fresh start is almost overwhelming for you this week, but make sure that your loved ones are on board. Talk to your partner constantly. Let there be no nasty surprises in store as you chart a new path under the influence of the new moon. If you are a Capricorn, difficult issues from the past may have lingered long around your family, but this week you can draw a decisive line under all that. Choose to move on, make your intentions clear, and bring the family forward and away from these old stresses. If you are an Aquarian, you can communicate much more clearly this week, both to others and in your own mind. This energy is perfect for long-range planning and for setting objectives and goals. A money-focused new moon will help you budget properly too. And finally, if you are a sweet Pisces, the cosmos hints at a change in career direction. Don't be afraid to take that leap, even if it's risky or involves retraining. It's important for your mental health that you love how you earn a living. If you don't, start changing that now, especially with the influence of the new moon in your sign. You really have the planets aligned, Pisces. Not only is the new moon in your sign, but you're getting a boost from Pluto, which brings opportunities for change, and also Jupiter, a trine from lucky planet Jupiter, which basically allows you to use your instincts and psychic ability to really charge ahead on a new path. But I have to harp on every month when I talk about the new moon, you can't have the new beginning until you have the endings. That's really important with this new moon. So this week we have new moon in Pisces on Saturday. We have warrior planet Mars changing sign, moving into Capricorn. So for the next 6 weeks when Mars is in Capricorn, what's going to be really important is to keep thinking long-term plans. Now, because Mars is in Capricorn, it does like being in Capricorn, but Mars, we have to remember, is the planet of impatience and getting stuff done. So when it comes together with Saturn, which slows things down, and Pluto, which really gives a turbo boost, there's a lot of change in store. Especially next week, we're coming up to the Sun entering Aries, and it's going to be the astrological new year. So that's what next week's show is going to be all about. is we're starting a brand new cycle. So it's interesting that we've got this new moon in Pisces. It's towards the very end of Pisces and, of course, 3 days before the astrological new year. So basically what this is about is the end of the year, the end of the astrological year. So it's like we can look back on what we've achieved and then look forward into what we want ahead. And as I've been saying, like on every show, 2018 is the year for change, especially if you have fixed planets, and that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. It's like change is coming, and because if you have this fixed energy in your chart, it's not necessarily a change that you seek. So it's good to be go with the flow, like this Pisces new moon. So the Pisces new moon at the end of this astrological new year, it's about be prepared, set new courses and new directions, but be prepared for anything that's sort of flowing. And also with Uranus, and I will be talking about that as the weeks go by, but Uranus is moving towards the very end of Aries, so there's going to be big changes coming in May. Anyway, that's it from me for this week. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, and you've been listening to The Astrology Show. Wishing you a great week ahead.